everyone, this is Jack. Well, in this video, I'm going to cover top 5 microgreen mistakes you must avoid to grow big, beautiful, luscious microgreens. Now, microgreens are full of nutrition. You can easily grow microgreens indoors or even in your kitchen counter to grow very nutritious food. You can add microgreens to your salad, or you can add them to your sandwich, even on pasta. So they make a really good addition to your food. Now, growing microgreens is relatively very easy. You just have to be very careful about these 5 mistakes to avoid to grow microgreens. So let's get started. Number 1, the growing medium. Now, if you just use potting soil or just your garden soil, you're going to have trouble growing microgreens because they contain a lot of pathogens, microbes, and a lot of stuff that can grow fungus, that can harness fungus gnats, so you can have a lot of pest problems indoors with those kind of soil. And you can also, because you're going to be eating microgreens raw just by cutting them with scissors, and they're going to be in contact with soil. So in order to grow microgreens, you need a sterile kind of a growing medium. Now, in my gardening, I always emphasize living soil because I'm always adding organic matter to the soil. I'm adding compost, worm casting, all of this stuff to the soil to make the soil living for microbes to grow and then feed all this nutrition to the plants. Now, in the case of microgreens, it's not necessarily true because microgreens just derive all of their energy from the seed. So they don't need any fertilizer, they don't need any microorganism, they don't need anything. All they need is some sort of a moisture and light, and that's about it. So growing microgreens does not require compost or fertilizers. All I do is just use coconut coir. Now, let me show you the coconut coir that I use to grow microgreens. So what I have here is just coconut coir. They come in bricks. Just make sure this coconut coir does not contain any salt because a lot of coconuts grow around seashore, so they are often dipped into salt water, so they can absorb salt if they're processed that way. But if they're processed in fresh water, they should not contain any salt at all. So just make sure that is the case, that they do not contain any salt. And I use these mushroom containers to grow my microgreens because you can grow microgreens in 10 by 20 containers. However, sometimes we don't get to eat all of that. So I just use these mushroom containers to grow my microgreens because they're small, they're manageable, they're modular, and they give you like a good amount of 1 serving for 2 people. So they're perfect size for us to grow microgreens. I made a separate video on 5 benefits of using coconut coir and also how to use the bricks to expand coconut coir in plastic totes as well. So check that video out if you're interested. Okay, now that I have my containers ready and they're filled with coconut coir, it's time to plant. But before planting, I'm going to press on this coconut coir just to compress it a little bit so I make a really nice bed for the seeds to sit on. Now I'm growing some radish microgreens and some pea shoot microgreens. You can also grow sunflower microgreens, cress microgreens, broccoli microgreens. There's so many different kind of microgreens you can grow. Basically, these seeds are not any different than the actual plants. This is actually radish seeds. So you can use actual radish seeds, actual broccoli seeds to grow your microgreens. And microgreens are basically plants that are actually cut to consume at a very smaller age, and they contain a lot more nutrition because they derive all their energy from the seed. So that's why microgreens are considered very nutritious, and that's why they actually cost a little bit more than any other salad because you use quite a bit of seed to grow microgreens. So let's plant these seeds. Okay, so let's start with pea shoot microgreens. I'm just going to cover the entire surface with a layer of pea shoot microgreens. Just a little bit densely packed. And then I'm also going to use radish microgreens. Now, radish microgreen seeds are much smaller as compared to pea shoot microgreen seeds. So make sure they're evenly spaced and they have some space in between them. Otherwise, they'll be too densely packed with each other. Now, the second mistake everyone makes while growing microgreens is either underwatering or overwatering microgreen seeds. Now, if you have trouble overwatering, create some holes in the bottom of your containers and let the excess water drain out. Always use a catchment tray at the bottom so you don't have water running around your counter. Now, I don't use catchment trays and I don't create holes because I use coconut coir, which absorbs all the excess moisture. And coconut coir is really great at actually retaining moisture and providing consistent moisture to the seed. So The coconut coir does not let fungus grow, and it does not let the seeds dry out either. Now, you can also overwater coconut coir as well. You should not be standing water in your coconut coir. Coconut coir just should be moist enough so that if you actually squeeze coconut coir, there should be a little bit of droplets of water coming out. That's all the water you need to provide in order to grow microgreens. Now, the way I water my microgreen seeds is that I initially water them when I first plant them. Then I water every other day. And I just make sure that the soil or the coconut coir, the growing medium, is consistently moist all the time. Now, if you have trouble germinating your microgreen seeds and all of your seeds are not germinating evenly, try soaking your seeds in water for 12 to 24 hours. This will actually help the seed absorb all the moisture and help in germination as well. The third mistake everyone makes while growing microgreens is not covering the microgreen seeds and not providing enough weight on top of the microgreen seeds. You're supposed to cover the microgreens and also add weight on top of the microgreens. So I'm using these clay pots to actually provide weight on top of these microgreens. Covering the seeds and actually providing the weight on top keeps the seeds in dark, which actually helps the roots to grow deeper, which in turn helps the plants to grow strong and straight. The fourth mistake everyone makes while growing microgreens is not providing enough light to grow microgreens, which makes the seedlings very leggy or they might not grow at all. So if your window gets enough sunlight, you can put your microgreens right by the window or on a windowsill. And if you're getting about 5 to 6 hours of sunlight during the day, that should be enough to grow microgreens. Now, if you don't, use a grow light. Now, the grow light that I use is Mars Hydro. This is a 300-watt grow light that I use. It provides enough light for all of these seedlings to grow big and strong. And they grow really straight because it has enough light to soak in all that energy. This Mars Hydro light has been working really well for me. It is providing consistent light for all the microgreens to grow really healthy. As I mentioned earlier, microgreens do not need any fertilizer. They only need 3 things to grow. They need the seed, which actually provides all the nutrients to the plant. They need the light, which is where they drive energy and create photosynthesis as well. And they need water to grow. So those are the only 3 things that they need. Coconut coir just serves as a growing media to provide consistent moisture to the seedlings. The 5th mistake to avoid while growing microgreens is not providing enough aeration. Now, your microgreen seeds need constant airflow to actually grow really healthy. If there's not enough airflow, fungus and mold will start growing in your microgreens. Now, the best way to provide aeration for your microgreens is with a fan or a draft. Now, if you don't have a fan or a draft nearby where you're growing microgreens, what you can use is this USB fan. It actually hooks up into your computer USB, or you can use an outlet with a USB port on it and plug it into the wall. And this will provide enough airflow for the microgreens to stay healthy and deter fungus and mold. I really hope you enjoyed all of this information. I hope you can use all of this information to avoid these 5 microgreen growing mistakes. And I hope you grow lots of microgreen and eat healthy. And I'll see you in another video.